Get started? Okay. Hey, folks. Wow, I can barely see you guys. So first of all, thank you for everybody showing up. I know it's getting a little cold out there. I really appreciate you taking the time. My name is Sabeen Nair. I'm a product manager in Dataverse, working closely on Copilot Studio. We're partnering with Microsoft 365, especially the Graph Connector team. So there is a lot of people behind the work that I'm going to represent today. So huge thanks to all of them. So along with me on the stage, we will have Nitin, who is behind the stage right now. He'll join us shortly. So we are essentially here to talk about three things. I know I'm like between your dinner or some of the adult beverages that you're about to consume, so I know you want to get out. I promise to get you out on time, but I'll give you three things as you go. One, we want to make sure, in the past, how many of you have heard of Copilot connectors? Okay, great. So if you recall around Build earlier this year, we had several leaders talk about Copilot connectors. So today we will give it a little bit more shape, a little bit more product truth to it, and show you from the lens of a specific connector through one of our partners, Asana. So we're calling it the Asana Copilot connector, one of our first connectors to be out there. Second, we'll talk about the Snowflake integration, the bidirectional integration. Who's heard the news yesterday that was flashed by Snowflake? Thank you. A couple of hands. Of course, we have the Snowflake team here. Fantastic. So they will join us on the stage. We have Sanjay, who will join us on the stage. Yesterday, we announced a pretty cool, solid partnership between Snowflake and Microsoft around the bidirectional integration. The third thing is we'll give you a gift of power. I know it's cheesy. A gift of power for you to test our connectors and honestly help us shape as we go forward, help us shape the product, keep us grounded. So those are the three things I'm hoping to achieve, hoping for you to learn from this session. All right, moving on. How many of you have seen this slide before? Okay, a few. I'm surprised because this should be a very common slide. You'll see many people presenting. There is a reason behind it. I think we are going at a pace, at a pretty fast pace, and we want to make sure we take you along with us. 6 months back, we were on stage talking about plugins, and now we're talking about agents. So I just want to make sure I don't leave you behind. And we had many people at the booth yesterday. I was at the Copilot booth and Power Platform booth, and many people came and asked me this question. So what are agents, right? So think of it this way. Microsoft gives you a Copilot for Microsoft 365. We understand every business is different, so you obviously want to customize it for your business. So you want to take that Copilot, customize it. You'll also hear us talking about it as an extensibility pattern. So basically, you're extending the Microsoft Copilot with an agent. So in a nutshell, that's what an agent is. In the past, we used to say a plugin is used to extend. Now we are saying that was a bit complex to comprehend, so agents is a better way to go. The plugins and the connectors are ingredients of the agents. So again, agents are a way you customize Copilot. So look at this picture from left to right. Far left is the declarative agent, which is the easiest, simplest form of agent, where you can customize a few things. And it basically, you can tell it, hey, this is how you behave. This is basically the knowledge part of it. If you look at any declarative agent, the anatomy of an agent, apart from the logos and all, there are two important pieces, knowledge and action. And we'll touch on both those topics today. So that's what a declarative agent is. You build a declarative agent through Copilot Studio, through Embedded Builder. At the bottom, you'll see that's a low-code, no-code tool. That's the world that I come in from. Now, you could be a pro-code developer. We have a little bit for everybody. So if you look at the extreme right, there's a custom agent or custom engine agent, as we call. And you build that using Visual Studio and Teams Toolkit, integration with the Teams Toolkit. By the way, it's not like that's pretty far-fetched out there. There are people who are actually building custom engine agent. And we have an example today. I spoke about Asana. We don't have a real demo. I'll just show you a couple of slides. We have plenty of other demos coming. So Asana is a partner of us, and Asana, think of them as basically a collaborative work management platform. think projects and tasks. So they have a beautiful interface where you can actually manage your projects and tasks. And actually, I can show you some examples today. In fact, our demos are hooked into that, so it can show you that way. So what they're saying is they're building a custom agent. They're kind of focusing on an operational manager persona who has very complex workflow management, very complex project, several stakeholders, highly visible. So given such a situation, as an operation manager, you want to be able to use the simplest of prompts using natural language and get to your answers really, really quickly. So if you look at the prompt, the person is asking, hey, show me the highest priority projects. They're not saying, show me the list of all the tasks that I have so I can choose. It's the priorities. Tell me what I should focus on, and I can give you that. So this is just kind of saying the Asana AI for Microsoft Copilot. This is coming in Jan of next year. A round of applause for the Asana people who've actually been working with us. Thank you. OK, moving along. So coming back to Copilot connectors. As I mentioned earlier in Build this year, we had several leaders talk about Copilot connectors. Essentially, we said you could build a Copilot or an agent and ground that in knowledge. You'll hear this language throughout, and that is very important because that is essentially what all these agents are all about. It doesn't know where to go until you tell it where to go and look for answers. So that's what the knowledge piece is. So these sources of knowledge, there are a few, and I'll show that really quick. Second part is taking action. Once you ask the questions that you have, you get the insights that you want, you get the answers that you want. You want to be able to take an action. That's what the second part is. And of course, kind of do a Q&A on the analytical piece. We won't do as much about the analytical part today, the Fabric piece, but know that that is also coming. Now, in terms of the data sources, by the way, I know I'm going at a pace. We have a very tight agenda. We have some guest speakers as well. So apologies, and I won't make false promises of like plenty of time towards the end. I don't know if that's going to happen. If it happens, bonus. Otherwise, you go hunt me down. So coming back to the topic, so there are some familiar sources here. So Microsoft Graph. So Microsoft Graph, think of like all your Microsoft 365 productivity data, productivity applications, and their data is already stored in Graph today. It's available out of the box. Second one, the business data driven by Dynamics 365 and Power Platform, that's available through Dataverse, again, available out of the box. The third one, as I said, Fabric. So anybody who's worked on Fabric, storing data in OneLake, all the curated insights available, customers' insight available in OneLake, that's also available. And finally, external sources. So what we're essentially talking about today, what we're essentially trying to do as a product group is taking the best of two worlds, taking the rich extensibility of graph connectors. Who works on graph connectors? Awesome. Who works on Power Platform connectors? Awesome. So we're taking the rich extensibility of graph connectors and rich extensibility of Power Platform connectors and trying to get them together, the good parts of it. And this is what Copilot connectors. And ultimately, this should help you give a proper rich connectivity to Copilot. A user, keep the user in mind. The user doesn't have to switch just for different types of data. They can be in Copilot. They can be in a declarative agent and be able to get all the answers related to business and productivity in the same suite. That's what we're trying to accomplish without switching platforms, of course. Now, a few basics to go over. I know there are Power Platform folks. They might find this interesting. We'll also cover the Power Platform, so the Graph Connectors folks will find this interesting. So what are Graph Connectors, essentially? Right? So Graph Connectors, think of Graph APIs. These are APIs which basically lets you create a connection, define a schema, identify the entities that you want to sync, and define the cadence. And based on this, it basically does some indexing behind the scenes. Think of it as a shallow copy of data that it actually creates. It doesn't copy the whole thing. And it uses this to what we call creating the knowledge. There's a contextual mapping that happens behind the scenes. This is not like I take your data and when you search for it, like list me all these things and I'll just throw it back to you. That isn't the magic. The magic is it understands the natural language that you're using. It can map your context to the data, and it's like a level deeper knowledge that actually tries to come up in terms of Copilot. So basically, Copilot uses this knowledge to come back to the user with the responses. So think of, it's very good at like summarizing stuff. So summarize the top tickets that I have. Tell me reason over a wiki article that was just published. Like, can you look at that and tell me what the main points are? So these are things that it can do really well. Moving on, so basically, this is just an example of what one of the prompts will look like, summarizing the top tickets. So it kind of looks nice with all the icons and all, but you get the picture. There are basically references to all the content that is actually coming, it's citing all the content it's pulling the data from. Now, these are the different, there's a rich ecosystem there, partners building this, huge thanks to them as well. This is growing ecosystem. Similarly, what are Power Platform connectors? Power Platform, it's a much simpler form. Doesn't make it better, I'm just saying it's a simpler form, wherein it's a wrapper over an API. So if you're a maker, emphasis on that, if you're a maker, you can easily take an API, put a wrapper on it, and then keep calling that into your applications. What kind of applications? I'm coming from the low-code platform world, so Power Apps, Power Automate, you can run a flow. So we have a thriving ecosystem. You must have heard Scott Guthrie and several leaders talk about thousands and 1,400 connectors. So those are these Power Platform connectors. Snowflake is going to be one of them as well. So yeah, so this is basically kind of showcasing that a maker is able to build a Power Platform connector by simply putting a wrapper over an API, and then I can keep calling that in different applications. So as I mentioned, growing ecosystem. Some of the logos that we are flashing here is a very famous slide you must have seen in practically every demo that we have done, every presentation we've done. Now, so we're trying to see what are their strengths and what can we take away from it. So think of Power Platform, as I said, coming from the no-code, low-code world. A maker can do it. It not just reads, it's able to write information, key thing. Growing ecosystem. Similarly, on the graph side, great job with natural language queries, great job at summarizing, doing the contextual mapping. Honors the ACLs. That is a key part of that I missed earlier. It honors your ACLs, so you can be rest assured people cannot see each other's data if you don't have permissions. And ability to link 1P and 3P data and kind of reason over it, the first-party and third-party data and kind of reason over it. So these are the strengths. So the obvious question is, like, when we have this thriving ecosystems, we want to keep them as is. We don't want to disturb that. But we want to try and see if we can kind of bring the best of two worlds and see through the lens of Asana. So this will be the place where I'll do a demo. So good luck to me. This is live, pre-production data. It is not out there. So every time you test it, it actually is interesting how it behaves. So let me switch stations and go there. By the way, what we have covered so far, just to kind of recap, we talked about there are 3 parts of the agenda. We are still in the first part of the agenda. We're talking about Copilot connectors. We covered the basics of agents, 2 types of agents, declarative and custom engine agents. We kind of went over the history of the graph connectors and Power Platform connectors. Now we are saying, let's bring them together. So there are 2 parts to it. Let me first switch my thing. I think I'm 3, I'm 4. OK, you guys can see my screen, right? OK. So what you're seeing is essentially a declarative agent. I just kind of put this together. There's nothing to it. There's no knowledge. There's no actions. What I'm trying to show is live code, everything from here on. We're trying, when you get the Asana connector in your hands, this is how you're going to do as a maker. You basically say you want to add knowledge. Go to Advanced, Asana. It does a little dance here. It'll take a little spin, like a little spinner. Now, no, in this case, because I've done this a few times, this is already in the same environment. That was fast, OK? So that shows up as an existing connection. In your case, it will show up as a new connection. That's the only difference. And I say add. Now it just adds, there's nothing more to it. So what we are trying to showcase is once you have the connector available, and hopefully several connectors in the future, it's clickety-click, you just add that and you're done. Behind the scenes, what happens, this is important, I'll cover in the architecture towards the end, is it's basically using the Power Platform credentials as a maker, creating a connection to Power Platform, using the same credentials on behalf of you, creating a connection to Graph Connectors, the Graph Connector service, the GC service. So this is what it does behind the scenes, and then uses the same permissions to basically ingest the data. So remember, in the case of Graph, we're ingesting the data to Microsoft Store, the substrate. Okay, so that was the first part of the demo. That's how you set up the configuration. Now the second part of the demo. So what I have is basically another agent here. I've already added the Asana connector, Copilot connector. And I have put together some icebreakers, some starter prompts, basically, so that you don't have to see me fat finger these prompts. It's not easy to do it, trust me, and the real estate is pretty small here. I know I've reduced and minimized the screen a little bit. I hope you can still see it properly, okay? So let's ask some questions. So basically, think of this that I, as a user, think of the same operation manager. I have a bunch of tasks, projects that I'm managing in Asana. So I'm asking questions about my tasks. The first one is show tasks under market expansion. So here it's going to go look up Asana, hopefully, and try to tell you, hey, these are the different tasks under it, and hope we can take this further, and I'll show you some of the magic that it does behind the scenes. Okay, not bad, first step. Okay, so it's trying to say, hey, conduct, some of the tasks that you have is conduct market analysis for Contoso expansion, implement market expansion. So it lists all the tasks, and it gives you a link. So when I click on that, it will take me to Asana. So that is basically the first part, first step of like, hey, it knows to go to that particular task in Asana. It's trying to tell me, you have a task here, this is what I try to summarize. And it doesn't always take word for word. It will try and, like, depending upon how you ask it, it will start taking this corpus of text and give it more meaning and tell you that. So that's where the beauty of Graph comes into the picture. Graph Connector comes into the picture. So this is that part. Let's keep going and pick the next prompt. Now look at the question that I'm trying to ask, like, can you give me a high-level overview of market testing? So this is not like list me the tasks or show me a particular task or project. Like, give me a high-level overview. So if it does its job, it'll come back and basically show that too. All right? Not too shabby. So it's trying to show another set of tasks or giving a high-level overview, and it's telling you that, hey, this is where I actually picked it from. Now here, just a quick, take a quick glimpse. You'll see other things here, other tasks like pricing strategy. Now the pricing strategy by itself is not that important, but then you always look at a pricing strategy by looking at the competition that you have. Now these are under two different sections. So I'll show you an interesting natural language query, which should drive home the point. Show me the latest in pricing strategy. Now, this is not a direct get me this task. This is like, go look at my task, tell me which is the most relevant pieces, what I should look at. So that's what we're trying to showcase. I did that walk so that I was like, it takes this time to run. Here, it says, it pulled different tasks, and it says one of them is like, identify key competitors and their market share. It says, work with Massimo to map out the main competitors. By the way, Massimo, the name is the name of the developer who actually worked on the Asana Copilot connectors. Just a quick round of applause for folks. This is the Redmond team, the Graph Connector team in India, all of them working together to put this together. Thank you. So here it says, look at the text, work with Massimo. Now, if I go to this particular task, this is not just a task, it actually looks at the subtask too. So here, it says, collaborate with Massimo. So I'm just giving you a little teaser into how it starts looking at text and starts like forming Like this is the opinion of the graph. So that's pretty cool, actually. And it's not just that. There are subtasks. So it's looking at some of the subtasks and telling you that this is what you have to go focus. So the demo is kind of encouraging. It is not going to be that way the rest of it. Let's see how it behaves. So take it further. Actually, I can't even keep scrolling. OK, decent on time. Now let's run another interesting one. What is the budget and resource allocation for projects? So there's a bunch of projects that I have. It has tracking. It costs so much. This is the kind of budget it's going to require. So I'm just asking a question about that. Here, it actually pulled information from that place. It says that you have several projects. The e-commerce upgrade project, and the budget is 80 grand. The SEO optimization, the budget is 25 grand. And it gives me a link. When I click on that, this doesn't go to Asana. This goes to my OneDrive. And the reason for that, you may have noticed this, that in my knowledge, there is another piece apart from the Asana Copilot connector. It is basically my OneDrive or SharePoint. OneDrive is nothing but SharePoint. So this is another example of how, when you ask a question, it says, hey, who's my knowledge sources? It will go ground itself in that data. That's where it's looking to get your answers. So this is, because there's a OneDrive there, and I'll show that to you. So this is the spreadsheet. If you go, if you go here, go to OneDrive, look at My Files, you'll see the budget and resource allocation. So it actually goes and fetches that, and it's looking into that and telling me the question. So it's pulled all the budget from here. Now you see, this is just straight away the budget dollars. But I can even do some small things. I know this is nothing great, but I could say, what's the total budget? And you see, it actually went and calculated. The budget is 300K. It wasn't there in the spreadsheet, if you remember. It took the total from here. So this tells you another teaser of what it can do, looking at your data, crawling your data, and coming back to you. So again, these are just teasers of what we could build together. So with that, the final piece, I spoke about actions. Okay? I'll give you a little teaser into that. This is not how it should behave, even if it behaves, right? Actions are going to be built into the Copilot connector. You don't have to do anything separate, but I'm just going to cheat the system a little bit, and I'll show you, like I'm saying, can you draft me an email on the latest? There's another project called Stakeholder Engagement and Communication. Can you draft an email based on that and tell me? And send it to Sabine. Let's see what happens. That's me, by the way. So. Oh, it actually worked. OK. It said I've sent this email to Sabine, so let's take a look. That's not the emails. Oh, it did. There you go. The email is here. So it basically drafted the email, sent it to Sabine. Now, the email is not beautiful. Not end of the world, but not beautiful. So I'm going to push my luck with one last thing, and that's the last part of the demo. I'll say, just do a rich text format. We deserve that today, in today's world. OK, it actually worked. Let's see. Must be your luck, not my luck, for sure. So better, yeah. So again, just a teaser of what the promise is and where we can go from here. So just to take it home, I have to switch it back to the main. OK, the main is there. OK. So quickly going over this, basically the Copilot connector for Asana, maker-friendly, We are lowering the bar of entry for people to build this, so we think the ecosystem that we have an example of, this will certainly exemplify the same thing. Informed actions, we saw a teaser of the actions, and index data, that is the beautiful graph that is coming to the picture. So this is what we are going to, I told you I'll give you the gift of power, so it's coming in December. So I'll show you a QR code that you can actually access and then start signing up for that. Okay, so again, user, the main thing, they don't have to switch platforms just to get different types of data. We're trying to keep the user where they should be in Copilot, in the declarative agent for Microsoft 365. And they should not be able to, they should not switch platforms to find the data. So easy for them. Maker, easy for them to build it. Most important of all, I didn't touch about this before, but even the very first version that we'll give out, we will do the governance piece for it. You will get some admin controls. It's not complete, but we'll keep building on this. You should know that you will be able to get some governance of like, hey, who can build these connectors? Like, some of those pieces will give it to you. So there's some data policies that you can do. So I'm not going to overpromise, but these are the basics that we'll actually do before we actually hand it over to in December. And then we'll keep building on it. We know that is paramount for you. Okay, and this is the architecture. This should be the last part, should be in time. So how Copilot Connector for Asana works. So in this picture, it can be a little complex. We have tried to simplify it. Some people help me here. Thank you. So think of this as the pipeline. The very first thing that we do is we establish a pipeline. If you remember the same part that I explained before, that a maker creates a connection to Power Platform, and then same credentials are used on behalf of to create a connection to Graph Connector service. So those things are established. Between each of these pieces, there is a contract that is set in place. Between the Asana and Power Platform, that is the external data and Power Platform, there is a Swagger file. If people have built Power Platform connectors, the Swagger files come to the picture. It tells you the API that you're wrapping, basically the get data API, or something similar, and also the authentication pieces. So that is what the Swagger defines. Then you have between the Power Platform and the Graph Connector service, you have the manifest. The manifest basically tells you these are the different entities that I want to go sync, and this is the cadence that you sync at. This is the schema behind it, so it basically defines that part. Finally, between the Graph Connector service and store, there's another contract basically telling you, hey, this is how we are going to store the data, and more importantly, if something goes, like if I delete the connection, you have to go delete the data as well. So you want to do that governance piece. So these are the contracts that are put in place. Once the contracts are put in place, and when the cadence kicks, remember these things run at a particular cadence. Once that kicks off, it basically, the Graph Connector service goes, grabs the manifest, which tells you which entities it wants to crawl. Then it points to the Power Platform connection, which says, OK, I'll know where to go. I go to Asana, get the data, crawl the data, come back and store it in the Microsoft Store. So this is what happens at a high-level architecture. So this part kind of gives you a very early preview, a very early teaser of what Copilot connectors could be. Okay? So with that, I'm going to switch gears and talk about Dataverse. I want to do justice. We have like probably 12, 13 minutes. So Dataverse loves Snowflake. There is no doubt. Yesterday, we celebrated big news across Snowflake and Microsoft. What we announced yesterday is essentially a bi-directional integration between Snowflake and Dataverse. So there are two parts to it, obviously. It's bi-direction. So when you have Snowflake data, all the data that you analyze in Snowflake, you can actually get that to Dataverse, okay, through virtual tables. There is no copying that happens. That is the key thing here. So we are just projecting the data from Snowflake to Dataverse. So you're basically creating Dataverse virtual tables on Snowflake data, and then you can build apps on top of it very, very easily. So makers and users can build end-to-end apps, and this is what customers have been saying. These customers are joint customers between Microsoft and Snowflake. Some of them are already using it, and I will show you an example really quick. The second part is Dataverse data, which is like, as I said, Dynamics 365 data, Power Platform data, needs to be analyzed at Snowflake. Snowflake is phenomenal at analyzing some of this data. So think of like sales information, sales data being analyzed in Snowflake, and Basically, all that insights, based on the insights, we are tracking leads in Dataverse. You're taking an action based on that. So this is the bidirectional nature of it. Let me call Nitin on stage for a quick demo. As I said, there's another demo. The demo god's with us. Nitin.
Hey, everyone. Yeah, thanks, Sabin. OK. Hey, everyone. I'm Nitin. I'm a product manager working at Dataverse in Sabin's team. And today, I'm going to show you how Snowflake Connector can be used to manage your data better and even get actionable insights out of it. To set the stage for the demo, we all agree that food is precious, right? Something that we need to make sure we don't waste it, correct? So today, the demo focuses on managing and balancing the supply and demand for perishable foods like fresh produce at a situation of a supermarket. In fact, the use case that we are going to show in this demo is a real-life scenario by one of our customers where their main goal was to manage the supply and demand for fresh produce and reduce food waste. Of course, some details are modified for confidentiality purposes. And let me switch the screens. OK, for this demo, we have 3 user personas. First one is the supervisor at the supermarket who has access to Produce Inventory app where they log the data. Second one is the analyst who has access to Snowflake as well as the Power BI report. Third one is the supplier who has access to purchase order table, which is a Dataverse table ultimately. To begin with, I'll take up the role of supervisor. As a supervisor of Organic Eats, a supermarket which receives multiple fresh produce delivered every single day, at the end of each day, I come here and I log the data. And now, since this is literally the end of day, let me add the 5th item. 4 items I've already added. So adding 5th items, which is, let's say, bananas. I received 100 pounds of bananas today, but I sold only 50 pounds, which means I have around 50 pounds of surplus. As soon as I hit save here, this data syncs with Snowflake in real time, and it also syncs with the Power BI report in real time. So let me go to the Power BI report. Here, if you see the top left visualization, you can see 4 items. And on the vertical axis, you have produce name. And on the horizontal axis, you have surplus, where surplus can be defined as quantity received minus quantity sold. So when I hit refresh, magic's going to happen. Let's see what happens. It's that simple. Bananas got added in the top row with the 50 pounds surplus that we just saw. In fact, let me show you the Snowflake as well. So this is the table in Snowflake where you can see 4 produce name items already. So once I hit run, the 5th item, bananas, got added, and everything happened in real time. So coming back to the report, we have a good insight that there is 50 pounds surplus of a particular fresh produce. Especially at scale, this is a really good insight. But what action can you take out of this? Because ultimately, our goal is to reduce food waste, right? So if you have, let's say, 50 pounds surplus, all you need to do is reduce tomorrow's purchase order to meet the slow demand. That way, you can reduce the potential food waste. Makes sense, right? And that's exactly what the Snowflake connector in Power Automate Flow is doing right now in the background. What it does is it analyzes this data, reduces the purchase order, and tells the supplier and updates it in the supplier table that, hey, we don't need a higher quantity of bananas for tomorrow because we are already running in surplus. Let's check the supplier data. So this is the suppliers table, as I shown before. And once I hit refresh, and let me do this, the first row is now added with a reduced order weight of 50 pounds. And the status is obviously delivery pending. In comparison to the previous order weight, which is 100 pounds, we have reduced the order weight, thus reducing the surplus and also reducing the food waste. So this way, we can manage a better food waste and also have better operational efficiency. So thank you. Yes, let me switch.
We spoke about you guys can hear me. So we spoke about a customer. That's the next one, right?
Yes.
a customer video. So SKF is the customer who's been using the Snowflake connector, the Power Platform connector. Some trivia about them. It's kind of coincidental. Like when we knew this is the customer, we were kind of cutting a video. These guys were amazing to cut a video for us in a very, very short time from Europe, all done remotely. Coincidentally, there were like only 2 Swedish companies where I was going up in India. One of them was SKF. So I've been seeing this company from day one going to school. It was always on my way. So come and like see a video of that is amazing. So play the video, please.
SKF's mission is to provide life with less friction. We are fighting friction in every corner of the world, all the time and almost everywhere, 24/7. SKF is a global manufacturing company serving approximately 50,000 customers direct in over 130 countries. We provide more sustainable solutions to the planet and significantly reduce the carbon footprint.
Before we had a Snowflake connector, we made our own custom-made Snowflake connector. But for every app we made, we also had to make adjustments to our connector, which in turn increased the risk of breaking something in another app.
This situation was preventing SKF from scaling up and meeting the increasing demand for integrating Microsoft Dataverse with the Snowflake platform. The Snowflake connector has been instrumental in addressing our data integration challenges.
Snowflake Power Platform Connector enables bidirectional integration between Microsoft Dataverse and Snowflake. With this, we can meet the demand for Power App from the business. The component maintenance falls away almost completely. Since we have implemented the Snowflake connector, we are now much faster and better at gathering data and incorporating it into our analysis.
By implementing the Snowflake connector, we have seen an increase in reliability and speed in accessing the data to fuel the data democratization. The partnership with Microsoft and SKF is long-standing, and it's a strong relationship.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks a lot. On that note, without further ado, let me welcome Sanjay from the Snowflake product team to join us on the stage for a quick Q&A round, actually.
Hey, guys.
And by the way, the Snowflake team is back there.
Oh, they're right there.
Aaron, Paul, and team, yeah. All right, how goes it?
Oh, it was outstanding, and what a partnership it's been, right?
Likewise. So what is the most exciting thing about this, this partnership, and also how do you see this transform data-driven applications?
Oh, well, the answer is simple. You heard SKF, right? Life without friction. So this is the basis of it all. I mean, the thing that excites me the most is, well, one is our wonderful partnership. Second is this customers now can take the transactional data from Dataverse and essentially bring it together with operational analytics data from Snowflake and to unlock essentially brand new scenarios. I can give you a few examples as we go by, but that's the one that delights me the most. In terms of goals, we actually had 3 goals for the bidirectional integration. One was essentially make data easy, right? The collaboration easy. The second was enhance business insights. And the third was essentially reduce the operational overhead, like you just saw in the SKF video. We've delivered the first click stop of these 3 goals today with the Snowflake to Dataverse connector, right? It's in preview today, you can go use it. And the Dataverse to Snowflake is coming soon.
Great. So, like from my perspective, I think like we're putting the joint customer in the center of all this. Like they don't have to go look for different tools to do different things, like do some ETL tool of their own, which is like, I'm pretty sure everybody knows it's a pain. So we're saying, hey, you matter to us from both the sides. Take this, start building some simple, easy apps really, really quick. The Power Platform connector that we announced is basically an enhancement, an upgrade of an existing Snowflake connector. We're basically merging all that functionality into one, and it is a lot more powerful. It's like almost a SQL-based connector. So it's not your typical simple wrapper or an API that I've been talking about. It's a lot more powerful connector. So that is from Snowflake to Dataverse, and Dataverse to Snowflake is coming soon. Anything else, Sanjay?
So yeah, a couple of new examples of new unlocks, right? I mean, you saw the Nestle example and what Nitin showed. So example 1 is, yes, you can get the data from Snowflake as virtual tables in all of your Power Platform apps, right? So that's one. Unlocks lots and lots of apps. The second one's more interesting, which is Nitin showed some of it when he updated that banana row, which essentially is you can do CRUD operations back to Snowflake, which then means, imagine if you will, that you're using Dynamics 365 to manage your contract lifecycle. And let's say the data for the contracts sits in Snowflake. So lifecycle changes from A to B. You want to go make an update into Snowflake. So now you can actually run SQL that updates the record in Snowflake or run a UDF according to your business processes, right? Something that was not possible before. So examples of two scenarios. And in terms of next steps, wrapping it up, well, two things top of my mind, well, top of our minds. So one is we release the preview, babysit it, and take it to GA. So that's priority number one. Priority number two is deliver on the bidirectional customer promise with Dataverse to Snowflake. So both are being worked hard on. But then I have some homework for you, like Sabine said, right? We desperately need your feedback, right? So we encourage you to try the Snowflake to Dataverse connector today. Go to make.powerapps.com. It's on the connectors marketplace. Use it. Tell us what you think. And we would love to use your feedback to delight you going forward. Back to you, Sabine.
Awesome. And I'd love to get a T-shirt of that. Thank you.
Beautiful T-shirt.
Erin note. Okay.
Yes.
Oops. With that, like 2 QR codes for you. Your feedback drives our success. That is not an understatement. So please, this is how you can access some of these connectors early on. One is in public preview. The other one is like just an early access. And I think I'm supposed to also show, if you've taken pictures, show you the evaluation. This is just like a session that already completed because our session got moved. So it was Mike's and Jen's session this afternoon that I think most of you have seen. There's another one which is about knowledge and actions tomorrow by Julie and Rakesh. So do attend that. The other one, at least if you've missed it, go look at the recording. And finally, a huge thank you, and if you can please evaluate us. So that's it. That's a wrap. Thanks a lot, folks.